Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone, a pull-out toolbox, and the soft glow of the fuel preheater gate.
This is Precinct 57. How may I assist? Yes. The armor was produced by Fairweather in their facilities in Betancourt. It was part of a special order for Corps de Pharmacie, a security firm contracted to protect the interests of Oranese pharmaceutical companies. So, it seems the armor went to Seminine. That's where the paper trail ends, though. Even the firm has proven difficult to track. Corps de Pharmacie has been renamed several times over in the years since the armor was issued. The most recently registered firm that the ICP has been able to connect to the CDP is a military contractor called Trinell, and the one before it was Downwell. I think they might be the same contractor.
A suit of armor like this would have been manufactured with a particular person's physique in mind. You should ask for whom this suit was fitted.
Hard to say. Their client list is rather diverse and incomplete. The only constant seems to be that the mercenaries are always deployed in third and fourth world countries. Yes, but the ICP tends to be reluctant to share private sector records. I could try to talk them into...
This is a fun challenge for her, an opportunity to contribute beyond doing her job by rote. She'll gladly put in the extra effort for Team RCM.
Glad to help. Call back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have more for you then.
In the cabin, you
Make way for the master poet.
The O at the bottom of the posters, in smaller lettering, are details about meeting at a local coffee house.
Looks like the students took your advice to heart.
The girl child.
Huh? What is it?
A Stars Ryko, one of the finest Zhimsk-made motor carriages ever. An oldie, but not many people outside of Grad. And Revachol, bulky frame, heavy, hardy, looks like a tractor. Yes, built like a tractor, and used like one too in the Zhimsk countryside. Take note of the 8-antler emblem, the symbol of
Estash Ryko KK2. That's a classic model. Never thought I'd see another one repainted after what happened last time.
No, only that the motor carriage is typically baby blue, the colors of Sigismund the Great, an ancient Zhimsk ruler. His banners were famously zephyr and white, the colors of the Stars Ryko.
That's, well, yes, exactly it, more or less. except it was a crowd of them, tore him out of the vehicle and ran him over with his own tires. They said it was an honor killing, hussar style. The James community protested the trial, flying the colors. 5,000 came to protest.
Correction. 4,395. The fourth largest public protest of a criminal trial in Revachol.
Is that so, officer? I'll take you at your word. People we are paid to protect. Let's leave it at that. 4 years for murder in Reunion. The perps were remorseful. They're sorry not...
The prisons in the greater Revachol Industrial Harbour are already full. Prisoners are expensive to maintain. The longer the sentence...
Could it be another Stajrajko murder? Honestly, that just doesn't seem like the type of vehicle our dead guy would drive. So my initial guess is the two are not related. Yes, detective? Okay, I'm not going to honor kill anyone over this, but I've seen it blue and white.
Right to work!
What's it to you? No.
Every once in a the man has turned his attention.
Hola, wandering man. How can I help you? Los Ardi? They're sort of like you.
Is he actually... Come on. He's the man whisper.
Looking for something odd?
Whoa, what have we here? A bridge with loose nails and rot-infested wood that creaks in the wind. A construction code violation if there ever was one.
True, they never cleaned up the wall damage. The rest of Revachol looks better, though. The bridge is fine enough. Locals use it all the time, after all. It's nothing to worry about. Shall we?
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire my mural?
I watched you go in, Pig.
So, did you two fancy each other? God, you even talk the same now.
Anyway, at least you convinced him to put up the posters. Good to see the old king covered in proper slogans. I saw one old bird nearly faint coming out of the frit.
Oh, the sea's gonna calm down soon, I can feel it.
The wind is turning southeast. What's on your mind, officer? Oh? Who? Okay. When did this person stay? Oh. I've been out on the sea for most of the past week. The weather's been good for fishing, so I usually... Yes, that's the optimal time. Got to make the most of the calm. I've been sleeping like a corpse after. The sea really takes its toll. Now I'm just waiting for the wind to settle to get out there again. Sorry I couldn't help you out. Maybe I can help you find someone else. Well, how can I assist you then, officer?
I'll just keep the Corda Leche in the channel, if that's okay. It's too...
Aye, ma'am. And it's a jetty, by the way.
Of course. Jetty. I prefer a good jetty to appear any day. Jetty?
Something about the way she says it makes you want to sing.
Oh, Jetty, oh, Jetty. It's good to see you here, detectives. I only just arrived myself.
What brings you here?
Nothing, really. I've had my eye on this jetty for weeks now, so I decided to investigate.
That. And she's also keeping an eye on you.
Spying has such a negative connotation. Then there's the matter of that little scamp in old lady clothes. She threatened to paint the Corda Leche red. Like blood.
What is this? Destruction of property? Hooliganism? Elder abuse? And who is this?
No need. Lillian and I are getting on much better. For one, she appreciates the concept of rent. How do I like it?
Water drips down eaves of Eternite. The jetty below her feet creaks to the smell of salt and dog shit in the back.
It's pornographically poor. The street has no name. All the men are dead or missing. And is that the carcass of a motor carriage over there? I'm surprised that woman hasn't put me to the sword yet. Maybe she will. You should ask your questions while you...
Dark eyes survey the coast leading up to Martinez. Dull grey metal rests in her scabbard.
Fortunately for you, madame, the RCM is on the scene.
All right. Politics time. Real men, real politics, real thoughts in your head.
Oh, I'm not frightened, officer. I'd never...
Above you, there forms a quilt of altocumulus cloud. Their cloud shadows slide over the ruins of Revachol West. Wherever they pass,
Have I told you how they discovered this place? No, they're in Sealindian. Well, your condition has left you no worse off than most of these people. The literacy rate is around 45% west of the river. 50 years of occupation have left these people in an oblivion of poverty. I knew you would sympathize. Most Revacholians will never know what this place means. Our home. This island of matter. Or why they... Remind me to tell you one day. For now, how can I assist you in this new location?
Do we?
I hear you have singled out a suspect and are in pursuit. This is cool.
this story she will tell it only before she leaves Martinez.
Maybe there is something else I can assist you with while you're hot in pursuit. More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything. Glad to have been of assistance. That's the man who was killed. I'm afraid this is a discussion for once we've cleared the lynching question. Better not.
She wants to answer the...
You're back. Good. That's the man who was killed. Better not.
She wants to answer the question.
More lessons in basic reality?
6 kilometers southwest in the Valley of Dogs, Junior Officer Chad Tilbrook takes aim at her. To his left, his partner, Emil Mullins, whispers, "You heard what happened to Tequila Sunset in Martinez?" "Yes, he lost his mind," Tilbrook answers, fingers on the trigger. "Don't worry, Emil." He pulls it out slowly. "We always do."
You? You're an officer of the RCM. Preciso mundo. Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement body of post-revolutionary Revachol, Detective.
Yes, we are the Revachol Citizens Militia.
He's being sarcastic.
We are.
Yes, that means not de jure. The RCM acts in what is poetically called the twilight of international law, both at the behest of the coalition government. The RCM's responsibilities are defined by the Emergency, Wayfarer and Aliments Acts, 3 pieces of legislation keeping the city in a, let's be honest,
All 3 are good to know when we are out policing.
There's nothing basic about your role, Detective. It's true that the RCM keeps everything the way ours. Yet, on the other hand, I know these people. I deal with them daily. Let me tell you, dear, they are not fans. The post-revolutionary decade was a disaster for the coalition government. Revachol in the 20s was hell, especially on the west side of the river. Gang warfare, They called it the International Zone because no nation wanted to claim responsibility. The RCM restored peace.
That's somewhat of an exaggeration. In reality, ours is Revacholians get to keep the peace in Revachol, and the coalition doesn't have to worry about it. Anyway, sorry to intrude. Please continue.
Yes, Lieutenant. Permit me to conclude with this. Who you are, to me, is the police. The only legitimate law enforcement authority in Revachol. And if those authorities drink so hard they need help recalling the basic terms of reality, well, I'm here to help. Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement.
Yes, we are.
He's being sarcastic.
Yes, that means permit me to. And if those authorities drink, glad to have been of assistance. The little that on the contrary.
They must have...
I suggest you go until you come up with something at that intersection. I'm glad to hear, officer. I'm sure.
She simply nods. She's not even asking you anything. Is what you're about to say when a cold streak runs through your heart. Once said,
A takeover. If they're taking it,
green livery, changing it like a cancer of the blood, metastasizing.
then we're talking about a war. Everett needs to let me into the harbor at once. We need to talk about this. An insane goal. Cronell has 1,000 men on their payroll. The next batch.
I've seen the Union's forces. They are better organized than these mercenaries. It will take more than Crenel to wipe them out. Wild Pines will need to send more and better equipment. I am sure you have the money. The question is, how many years and how many lives?
What do you suggest I do? Everything affects the decision-making process.
Officer?
For once, I don't seem to know what the right thing to do is.
Do you think it's within my authority to give it to them? Do you think I can control the... What will I do? Did I ever tell you how they discovered this Isola? During our reality lowdown? It may be the only break we've ever caught as a species. The last one for 4. The nations who colonized this Isola called theirs Muindi, the world. It was all they knew, all they thought would be. That there would be something more was a gamble, akin to another. The Pale was thought to be impregnable, perpetual. Irene la Navigateur, the Queen of Suren, sent 8 expeditions, one after the other, into the mass at the edge of the world. 5 of the crew, it was anything but normal. There was no precedent. People thought, until after years of trial and error, and the development of a strict psychological regime
Called Volta do Mar, or Return from the Sea.
The 8th expedition returned sane and intact. They told of a new continent of matter. They told the Queen and her counselor, Dolores Day, that the Pale had begun to condense, slowly raining down into...
The air is cold and scented with petrichor. There are rain circles on water all around. Humidity crawls up your back like a piano trill. So does the lieutenant. His mouth is slightly open, as the droplets feel warm, like spring rain.
The phenomenon has never again been encountered. For a time, the crew thought they were experiencing a hallucination. The mass hand proclaimed, "Lancielinde, Lancielinde," the signal to wake up. But they could not. They were sane and conscious, as islands began to appear on the horizon. There are 78,000...
You've thought it a million times.
A total shift in human comprehension of reality. On the 2nd day, a great skua was shot down above the flagship Lysergique. The bird was preserved and brought back, along with pollen. 4 years later, the Queen's Counselor was proclaimed Her Innocence Dolores Day, the elected world spirit. The age of humanism, internationalism, and parliamentary rule followed. We were high. The first living, autonomous organism. Proof of reality. It's the symbol of Insulinde, detective. The coat of arms of the suzerain. On Caillou. The Pebble. The largest of the fertile, uninhabited islands of the northeast. The nations of Muindi proceeded to discover 5 more isolae. But these others weren't uninhabited. We had to kill people there. Wipe out indigenous populations. Gunboat economies. Or they came to do the same for us, or had done to each other. There was no one but the skua, the Liliat Sea, and the Blood Beach, and the River Esperance. It was the new world. The Mondials used it to amass the greatest revolution, poverty, and the mercurial rise of capitalism. It is. Soon it will be spring and everything will blossom.
The gangs will run wild, jacking motor carriages, ferrying amphetamines through Coal City. spring is tough in Revachol.
I will take your advice, Lieutenant Chiefrater. I will surrender Terminal B to the Union.
She puts her hand in the rain. She's silent for a second.
We will see.
Ma'am, this may well unravel property law this side of the river. If that occurs, we may never see the end of this kind of confrontation.
What happens will happen. The age of capital has only begun. I will talk to my employers in person. We will amputate and cauterize Martinez. If you handle the situation on the ground. Yes, Mr. Clare has a 2-month head start. I can't let it grow any bigger. And I've exhausted all...
There are no employers. She's a member of the board. Probably a partner.
You are the citizens' militia. There are no superiors.
That's right, Detective. And next time, you should confer with them before you go setting events in motion.
Despite his words, he's not really sure whether to be annoyed with you or not. Events are already in motion. Whether your actions accelerated or momentarily retarded their progress, even the lieutenant cannot really say.
I have not deceived you. I showed you who I was. Rejoice Layton. Keep the peace, and I will keep... One last thing, Lieutenant Dubois. I've given the matter much thought and come to this conclusion. You're not an amnesiac. You're insane. I know, because I too am insane. I just hide my illness better. And I'm rich. No, Detective. No one...
Don't worry, Madame. I am very sane.
I'm overexposed, baby. My travels take me through the Pale dozens of times a year. I've got the longing. And I've got it bad.
She would die to return to it. The Pale. The past.
The same strict psychological regimen the 8th Admiral developed when he crossed the Pale and discovered this Isola. The Volta do Mar.
You could use a little of it yourself.
Watch out for yourselves. They will strike soon.
The lieutenant watches her boat grow smaller on the bay. Its white sails, with worry in his eyes. He does not know. You wonder what Everard has to say about this. Slowly, the sails turn grey-blue as more...
Yes?
The light vanishes inside the concrete slit. The structure goes deep under the earth. Maybe it's just a storm drain. There's no echo and no answer.
No idea. Could be connected to one of the buildings around here. We might find her down somewhere. There's an old storm drain system beneath Martinez that's mostly collapsed. In conclusion, she could be under any building. I hope not.
An old door, worn by elements, guards the depot. The wind has blown a sand dune.
From here to the whirling, I can't see how. The church is in the way.
Is there something here that would indicate a sniper used this place as a nest for taking the shot? In the distance, you can hear the breakers.
I don't see it, Lieutenant W. Freitor. I don't see a person take a shot here and hit something there, in the whirling in rags. To warm his hands before pulling the trigger? Perhaps, but anyone could have made this. Truthfully, this seems like a very poor choice to take a 1.2 kilometer rifle shot from. Visibility is awful. There's water vapor everywhere. I think we can It's not possible to climb that ladder. And even if it were, why? There's no those? A smoking assailant who favors Tiomutiri to Astra or Joan? Cigarette butt.
Tiomutiri was a Revacholian colony on Ilmaran. The Suzerainty's population was mostly Ilmaran Areopagites, up to 97%. The region was known. Oh, you do? The butts you saw had a silhouette of a boy wearing a coffee hat, a tobacco picker. This boy is the Tiomutiri brand logo. Contemporary Revacholians prefer Juan, a local blend from the southern islands, or Astra. There, 1.2 kilometers over the wave-crossed bay, through heavy, a glowing light on the third floor of the whirling in rags. With binoculars, you would see a young woman's shape move behind the glass, her limbs long and slender. Smoking, drinking, being happy and elated, without you, because you're here, freezing. A metal and plastic contraption bobs up and down amidst the trembling reeds.
That over there must be the boy class you told us about. The one.
Ooh, hidden thing. Cold, air, tendons. Snapped the cords, keeping the boy in place. A little longer, and it would be floating somewhere. Moves across the water, leaving no traces. Your splendor.
Indeed. Let's see what...
The boy is not tied to anything. The cords dangling from the bottom really have been torn or cut. You lift it out of the water easily, noticing how light it is. The number 11 has been written on the yellow plastic. It hasn't been in the water for very long.
Simple construction. Very unsafe.
There's something in there, splashing around. It smells like you would expect it to smell. The water this side, a shot glass's worth of seawater pours out. Some algae.
Well, damn. I have no idea. Or think we do. This is a small loose end, either way. Not important, I hope. That may very well be the case.
You could ask the miss what she thinks. Later, if you have the time. Though you doubt she'll tell you much.
Hello again. No, I'm afraid I can't help you with this one, officer. It's just a regular day off for me and Mikhail here.
So you haven't seen anyone around?
No, I'm sorry. As I said, this is just a day off. We just arrived anyway.
There's something friendly and familiar in how he says that. A day off. He's telling the truth. He hasn't seen anyone.
Sure, what's on your mind? But of course, what I do some...
Low Mantang, stick fight.
Actually, a great many calls.
You doze off. As man.
But anyway, I'm boring you with details again. You were saying? Then I guess everything got...
You see, a slogan used to...
Looks like tomorrow never came.
The remaining windows rattle from a strong gust of wind. They're covered in a thick layer of grime. They must have dripping water falls from a high place. There's rust and corrosion on the bars.
No, I won't even try. You know, I had a partner once. They called him Eyes, because he had to show me things. It's that bad. Well enough, actually. It's odd how that works. I'm no sharpshooter.
His hands lead the way when it comes to that.
Oh, hey, man. It's good to see you. Goodbye, officer. Yo, man. What's on your mind?
Good morning, comrade! Yeah! Hardcore!
Yeah! It was awesome and scary. Too hardcore, in fact. I couldn't control it at all. It sucks up all the air in the mix until it's the only thing left. Starts compressing itself and everything around it. Completely fills up the head.
Inside your chest, the heart beats still with the after effects of the sound. Imagine if you could harness that power. Make it...
Yeah! Welcome to the gloaming! Oh! I don't know. Maybe someone can do something with this. I imagine this is the sounds that the future could make. Can't escape the sound! Can't escape the future!
Yes, what is it? What? No.
She has not seen her, sire. It is true. You don't have to. You already have. A long time ago. These thoughts formed in you somewhere, in a long-forgotten discussion, behind a kitchen table, drinking coffee and smoking, with a friend and a woman. She was there too. Her hair smelled of shampoo as she was smoking.
What? But Pale isn't here. We're thousands of kilometers from the edge.
That comforts her. She looks up into the darkness under the nave, then back at you.
Then what is that?
It's nothing. No, it's less than nothing. No.
Then the Pale is... But the gradient, it clearly hasn't started yet. We're here, and the Pale is not. I understand. A theory of the Pale where instead of an outer ocean, it metastasizes, like a cancer or a mold, erupting in points inside the world. According to this, how long... And information, causing data losses in the East Insulindian front. Have you considered why it's formed in a church? And also...
An intellectual hunger fills her now.
I also have a question, since we are piling them on. How do you know this? I'm not doubting you. I'm simply...
Knows how to think this.
An amateur anthropomedic police officer. I'd like to say I've heard stranger things, but I'm not sure. This is a hell of a get.
Yes, it is very interesting. But I wouldn't say you know. This is a guess. One that... Of course! A pine wood sarcophagus! Or a containment facility of some kind, built by the first settlers. I have considered the same. The bad news is, there were 7 pinewood churches built in the first. Most of them were burnt down during the revolution, or repurposed before, during the suzerain.
Some of them might. A black grain hanging in the air.
You think the presence of that puncture has somehow influenced the outcome of events here? Even say software development?
She already made up her mind when she heard it. Some kind of great and uncaring force had to play a part. It wasn't only them.
I told the producers we need to go and move to a normal office building with amenities. But no, the artists like the milieu, the writers like the history. I told them. You mean Plaisance and the dice maker? There was almost no one left when we packed up. Then go tell them.
She falls silent. The wind blows in through.
I'm going to leave that out. But the rest, some...
Ma'am, you will certainly...
One more thing. Maybe a club for anodic music isn't the worst thing you can erect around this particular point in space. I wouldn't go so far.
Yeah! Once the light is on in the universe, it will never go out!
Thank you, Egghead. Let's leave it at that, shall we? We have an anthroponetic detection to perform in this district.
The mother of humanism stands above you, a precious and complex. The mother of humanism stands above you. A jigsaw of broken shards falls into place in front of you. A ghostly reconstruction of the stained glass window. Before it was shattered, there was an older woman beneath the younger. Unknown. A motor carriage? A gunshot? Someone falling into it? Or maybe just hooligans looking for... The escutcheon on her throne says, Irene the Navigator. She is depicted as an older woman wearing thick-rimmed eyeglasses. Holding a golden Reichsapfel in one hand, small figures of wise men, common men. Worshippers walk up the stairs to stand at her feet. Secret servicemen, 30 years, stand in a row guarding her. Below both women, in luminous black letters, Après la vie, mort. Après la mort, la vie de nouveau. And then, along the left side, après le monde, la gré. Après le gré, le monde de nouveau. After life, death. After death, life again. After the world, the pale. After the pale, the world again. This is the great leitmotif of humanism, a summary of the effect of the discovery of this isola, the Insulindian, on human thinking. A tremendous sea change akin to finding life after death.
Death, life again. After this exaltation is common in Dolorian sacralism. In the early years, it was even incorporated as the RCM slogan. It was deemed subservient to use a strongly moral intern-related motto. We already suspected of bootlicking. The sentence was also seen as too feminine. Justice, union, prudence, and force. So do I.
The mother of humanism towers above you, a wax painting.
Welcome back. No.
Just no?
It's pretty desolate here.
Long shadows, short shadows, quiet shadows of local children, loud shadows, drunks, and also a shadow made of sticks.
Exactly. It's our chance to turn the grim desolation into an overwhelmingly fun dance party.
Hello, sir. How is the investigation going? Found any curses yet? Oh, that's great! I hope exciting adventures lie ahead. And maybe you can help.
What have you found? Yes? What news do you bring? What?
Ma'am, what he's saying is true. We found an anthroponetic anomaly in the small pinewood church down the coast.
But that's not in any of the ancient texts. How am I supposed to protect my bookstore from that? Close the shop? But it's all I have. Thank you for your help. In any case, you're welcome back here any time.
The barbell waits patiently on the floor, like a dog for its master. The barbell waits patiently on the floor, like a dog for its master. Conjuring up an inhuman amount of strength, you raise the barbell up in the air. Your biceps tremble, but you're a warm wave of accomplishment washes over your head as you drop the barbell to the floor. For a moment, it feels like you're strong enough to succeed at anything you ever set your mind to. Hey, but you're still in a ghost house. What if...
Good technique.
Looks like someone tried to reconceptualize their business here. Look, the skis and rotor blades both bear the same slipstream logo. It seems likely that they started out making one, failed to turn a profit, and then pivoted to producing the other. That's a good question. Reality is ruthless. As before, an iron safety curtain curves. This is directly above the central furnace in the cellar. Those curtains prove to be surprising.
There must be another way.
thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black. Something breaks loose in you. A mighty...
Hello?
You've awakened the entity.
Hello? Did you say anything? I can't hear you. Please come upstairs.
You hear a low rumble upstairs.
After you, officer.
Hello, I'm Nia. Did you try knocking on my window? I must have missed you. I've been listening to my Milius. So what kind of die are you looking for?
Could this be the malicious entity? Perhaps she's got a direct view to the backyard. You should interrogate her about the lynching.
Yes, Amelia is like a call-in station. You need a two-way radio to access one. Mostly, they just teach you to swear in different languages. But some of the stations can be quite interesting. I was so absorbed. Then how did you get inside? By the south entrance? You know what? It doesn't even matter. What matters is that you find... I'm a novelty dice maker. Tell me the name of your role-playing system and I'll make the die you...
As she speaks, her bone-like fingers fiddle with a ring. Her bones light, but her hands strong. Role-playing games? You know the one made by Fortress Accident. Does that count?
Very good. My rate is 10 rel. Take a look around and see if there is any particular stone you want to use.
It almost looks as if the stones and dice are a natural part of the room. Growing, no falsehoods are present. She's a novelty dice maker and doesn't have anything to hide. Ask what you need.
How did I become one? It was a business decision. I was a regular jeweler at first. Some of my friends were role players. They asked me to make some polyhedral dice out of cobalt. That was my first order. Not especially. I like working with rare materials and a steady pay. And role players...
Some of those nice people have big bucks to spend on novelty. She's thankful for the security they provide her.
Of course. Tell me what you have in mind. Ah, yes, Fortress Accident. The Wiro Untethered die is a variation of a standard role-playing die.
Ice, death, loss.
I'm thinking something made from alligator jawbone, cast in black resin. The reptile bone is as white as ice and dead as, well, death. For 7 real, I could have it ready in 8. It's an icositetrahedron, a 24-sided die that can produce results for 2-sided, 3-sided, 4-sided, 6-sided, and 12-sided die with a single roll. Technically, you can also use it for many other...
Loving it. So nifty.
Untreated bone is porous and prone to chipping. Cast it in something hard like resin though, and voila, it's perfect. Maybe you have some other ideas for dice? What do you mean by cursed? Alright, how about I surprise you? Come back in 8 hours with 7 real. And maybe you have some other... A star that fell from the firmament? Those cost more than 7 real. Are you sure? Yes, you definitely have the proper attitude. How about a pair of 100-sided dice, made of ivory and inlaid with lodestone?
Pieces of lodestone were used as the first magnetic compasses, from which they derived their other name, course.
10 real, and I can get these ready in 8 hours. It's true, magnetic dice are definitely different. When rolled together, the magnetic fields of the pips interact with each other to push and pull on each other as they're rolled, just like all magnetic personalities do. Great, see you in 8 hours then. Was there anything else? Nothing really.
Who cares about the dead body? We might be dealing with a... The lieutenant looks at his notebook.
Your window looks directly onto the courtyard.
I'm sorry, detective, but as you know, I usually have my headphones on when I'm working. It shuts out most of the daily ruckus behind my window. Well, there's always something going on in the Whirling's backyard. During daytime, there are usually those kids, and lately I've been seeing a lot of drunk workers hanging about.
She's heard of the murder, but did not see it.
But I never saw anyone during that fateful Sunday night, I'm afraid. I might have, but in this case, all I would have seen is
It's light here, but dark.
It's really hard to make anything out in the yard when it's dark outside.
This person values focus above all. She keeps her sharp sight on the instruments.
It's an odd profession, making dice for people, but I like it, and
She nods.
Anything else, officer? We're inside the chimney of an old central furnace. It's strange, I know. But when I arrived here, all the other rooms were taken, so I had to build my...
Plaisance was right. There's an entity living in the...
Creative.
More or less. Are you interested in anyone?
Oh, quite a lot. Rats scuttle in the dark rooms, under the abandoned blow dryers and dusty mannequins.
Yes, I think it was called Androgynous Orlando or something similar. They weren't a big hit around here. Turns out that working class men don't like...
You wouldn't like it either. A bit of experimenting every now and then isn't bad.
I guess it just wasn't the time yet. It wasn't merely a gym, it was Artemitep's boxing club, a community project created to steer at-risk youth away from drugs. A kind man from Zemsk. I heard he had some trouble with the law when he was younger. And Kuno. Who's Kuno? Oh yes, you mean the kid with the sailor's mouth. Yes, I've heard him yelling profanities in the... I think it would take more than a gym to help that kid. It didn't. If anything, it made the youth situation in Martinez even worse.
You should have known it. It's not really full of that. No.
Eventually, the coalition took away the funding and the club went bankrupt. This was a few years ago. It's gotten much more peaceful. Oh, this one's a mess. Turns out, the business was actually set up as a front for an illicit group that was
What's the snuff, Milia? Trust me, you don't.
And they never cleaned up the debris either. Now it's just littering the hallway and I have no idea how to get rid of it on my own. It's a sub-Rosa radio station that broadcasts real murders with real victims. Some people pay good money to get off on it.
Nothing changes in her tone as she says that. As if it's just another... What does she mean to get off on it?
Don't worry, the ICP has a separate division that deals exclusively with unlicensed sub-roses.
Good luck with that. It's not easy catching those perpetrators. You mean Mr. Fabron, the taxidermist?
But what drugs exactly?
He got high on some weird taxidermy chemicals. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Even you can probably do better. You can almost see it. A small, sickly old man hunched behind his work desk, his pants stained with old piss, stuffing a sad...
There used to be a fashion atelier here, but I have forgotten the head designer's name. They were doing well for a couple of years, until the insect... The atelier produced a certain collection that used chitin among the materials. Apparently chitin is made in the Occident, and you know how all kinds of political movements are big in the Occident. The activists and, naturally, all the most fashionable tastemakers refused to be seen in chitin from then on. The atelier went bankrupt before they could finish the collection. Really? Anyway.
Poor guy. Suddenly, you get a feeling that insects are important to the case somehow. It's hard to say why.
They were made by a company called Slipstream. After they pivoted from making rotor blades to skis, their chief executive took off. Honestly, I think it's quite funny. I think he's still sending out holiday transmissions from Tulula or Tiumotiri or Hardcore or wherever he is. The usual, I imagine. That he's been thinking up all kinds of new business plans.
Men like that are cursed.
Sure, but Slipstream is history now. All their remaining assets got seized by the bailiffs in 47. I have no idea why those skis and...
They were just the props. Why Maybe you could make a sword out of one. No. Wait. Forget it.
Fortress Accident, the radio game studio.
She liked them.
They were an interesting bunch. We talked about role-playing systems every now and then. Once, I even saw two of them get into fisticuffs over...
That's understandable. Fantasies are serious things. The mind...
They certainly took their work very seriously, even if they seemed to be chronically liberal with their schedules. The usual. They ran out of money and... Well, I did hear them talking at times. They seemed to believe they were historical individuals.
She sounds almost mocking when she says that.
Yes, but when the money started to run out, they just began to complain a lot about capitalism. In the end, they just didn't get it done. They didn't have enough willpower to produce something.
She's right. Showing up to work on time is... Showing up to work on time is hard. No, scratch that. Showing up to work at all is difficult, especially if you've been drinking.
And so is producing something extraordinary.
Something strains her face.
Anything else? Oh boy, the fabled Revo Show ICT. You're in for a treat here. The place was owned by two guys who had some rather innovative ideas about marketing.
Indeed. What were the other ideas?
There was really just one, and it involved picking out the prettiest girls in the neighborhood and pay. And by man the booth, I mean slump behind the counter with a face that could maim you if you...
Fritta does the same thing.
Employing silky teenage girls is a widespread practice, yes. Unfortunately, they always come in packs. I'm talking about acne-ridden girlfriends and gorilla-like, and they already had the bear. The bear. Of course not. The bear was terrifying. No one wants ice cream guarded by a hostile apex predator. To make matters, eventually Ravishell ICT lost the price war to its rival, Glace 5000. Glace 5000 sold caramel sundaes for only 5 cents a piece, out of regular fridges. Maybe, because the taxidermist, he said that the bear was his vision beast. He said he met...
Sounds cool. Scary, but... cool.
Megatherion, A mega wild beast. It's an imaginary beast that guides you by telling you to do more drugs.
A wise and noble beast, guiding you toward the land where the streets are paved with drugs.
Do you? Well, good luck keeping it. Anyway, now you know the story of the fallen ice cream empire.
Little sparkling outside its light. Light scatters from the low-hanging...
Anything else? Another failed business, perhaps? I've been good. I hope it clarified things a bit. I'm listening. Good.
What have you found? And also, do buy the book. Okay, but please, only a few questions. Yes, the Simonees are very...
The woman before you. A small mountain of colorful board game boxes.